Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AWSP Presents Post-Secondary Transitions. And we're excited to offer this opportunity for you to be able to view an interview that we're having with Sarah Weiss from the Washington State Student Achievement Council. Sarah brings a wealth of experience, and today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the FAFSA and the importance of completing the FAFSA and some statistics around FAFSA completion and post-secondary pursuits. I know we all work tirelessly in our buildings to ensure that our students have the necessary routes and or information to transition from their high school experience into a post-secondary experience, especially ones that they've identified for their future career endeavors. We'll also dive into the WASFA and what in the world is that? Because I've asked myself that a million times as well. We'll also discuss the Financial Aid Advising Day that the legislature just enacted this past year, and then spend a little bit of time going over an enormous resource that WASAC has put together around their 12th year campaign. But enough of that. We're all here today to listen and learn along with Sarah. So Sarah, if you could briefly just introduce yourself, and again, thank you for being here with us and your role within WASAC, and then we'll dive into some of those topics.
Great, thanks Scott, and thanks to you and AWSP for having me today. I'm so excited to chat with you and share some information and resources with school folks who are in buildings and homes across our state. So my name is Sarah Weiss. Weiss is nice, you can remember me that way. I'm an Associate Director of College Access and Support at the Washington Student Achievement Council. I've been there about almost 6 years, and before that I spent about 10 years in college admissions around Washington and Oregon as well. At the Washington Student Achievement Council, or WASAC, I work with the College Bound Scholarship Program, our financial aid training and support initiatives in the 12th year campaign. And if you're unfamiliar with the Washington Student Achievement Council, or WASAC, as I said, just a quick note about who we are. We are a state agency that is focused on supporting post-secondary attainment for all Washingtonians. So we do that in a variety of ways by supporting state financial aid initiatives, college savings with the GET and Dream Ahead program, college admissions standards, residency program initiative and law. So we do a lot of different things, all in that goal of supporting Washington residents in their pursuits of post-secondary education.
Well, thanks again, Sarah, for being here with us this afternoon. And as you've just described, WASAC is an enormous and has been and will continue to be an enormous resource in relationship to students and staff and their post-secondary pursuits. So the first place we kind of like to dive into is along with FAFSA. You hear quite often that, why do I need to complete it? We're not going to get any money, blah, 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 some different things along those lines. But maybe you could just share a few statistics in relationship to post-secondary attainment and completion of programs, or just enrolling in relationship to students that do end up completing the FAFSA.
Sure. And so first, just so we're all on the same page, what is a FAFSA? A FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's the application that puts students in consideration for state and federal financial aid programs, as well as many institutional or college-specific programs. As Scott mentioned earlier, the WASFA, which is the Washington Application for State Financial Aid, that is an application in Washington that we have for students who are not able to do the FAFSA due to immigration status, or are undocumented students. They may meet Washington residency requirements and are eligible for Washington state financial aid programs, such as the Washington College Grant or College Bound Scholarship, but they're not able to apply using the federal form. And so the WASFA is an application and an opportunity here in Washington for residents of the state to apply for state financial aid. Both forms are critically important. Students should only do one. We always say the rule of one or the other. But completing a financial aid application is incredibly important in the process of applying and pursuing post-secondary education. Students who complete a FAFSA are 84% more likely to enroll in post-secondary education. That's huge. It's a great way for students to see what they might be eligible for. There might be aid that they're not thinking they're eligible for, but it's out there. For example, I would mention the Washington College Grant, formerly the State Need Grant. This is a grant program open to low and middle income families in our state students and families of a family of four, for example, that makes $97,000 per year will receive some form of Washington College grant. So and then students and families who make $50,000 around that limit will be at a full Washington College grant. So there are huge opportunities, huge programs in the state of Washington to support students and families going to college. The first step is applying for financial aid.
Oh, thank you. And I really do appreciate the understanding of the WASFA as well, because I do believe within our system, there's not necessarily confusion, but there's some maybe misunderstanding or the lack of knowledge around that for students and their immigration status in relationship to financial aid opportunities. What would you say to a family? Because I've heard this often when I worked in the high school, and I know counselors have heard this across the state, that or my parents make X amount of dollars and we're not going to get any financial aid anyway, so why should I fill it out? How would you typically respond to something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, working with students and families, I hear a lot as well. And what I typically say is that there are so many types of financial aid out there that use the information that is pulled in through a FAFSA or a WASFA application. Now, depending on the cost of attendance, so tuition, fees, room and board, books, supplies, estimated transportation expenses, all of that there might be financial aid available to support that. And students and families, you don't know unless you apply. And the information that's pulled from that FAFSA application, again, is used to determine eligibility for certain types of scholarships on a college campus. A lot of times, not just federal Pell Grant or Washington College Grant, as I mentioned. So there's always something available, for students. And so you don't know until you apply. And a lot of scholarship organizations and colleges will require that application be in before awarding institutional or scholarship dollars as well. And I would also say that with the expansion of that Washington College Grant, that's new, that the new expansion this year to fully fund it and have more support for students of low and middle income backgrounds, is that I bet there's families out there that think they don't qualify, but are definitely eligible for some of those funds.
Yeah. And the Washington College Grant, what a great addition to that, especially with the new income levels and opportunities to receive some aid. I know just a personal anecdote. Our oldest son is now in college, and I've filled the FAFSA out twice now. Got through it, and one of the things in the back of my mind was I just remember getting information back, and we got very little money for a state school or a public institution, but got quite a bit of money in terms of financial aid support if you went to a private institution, to where the cost between public and private was within $500. Sometimes kids just look at the bottom line, the cost of tuition or the cost of going to school, and say I can't do that. And that's just one example of how the FAFSA at least came in to help us in relationship to my son's post-secondary endeavors. So you talked about, financial aid, and 84% of the students that complete FAFSA do matriculate to post-secondary pursuits. And that was one of the tenets that brought about the whole notion of this financial aid advising day. Talk briefly about just the purpose of the financial aid advising day.
Sure. And so, with financial aid and it's a complicated puzzle. Every student's puzzle looks a little different of what, grants or loans, scholarships, work study, self-funding, what goes into their financial aid or college funding puzzle. It's all a little different. And so it's complicated. It's new for families who are applying to go to college. And so the Financial Aid Advising Day is an opportunity to make sure that every student and family in Washington has resources and information about the importance of applying for financial aid, as well as the resources to help do it. And so understanding what programs are available, how it will impact that student and family, and really to ensure that every student has an opportunity to receive this information. I know a lot of schools that we work with at WASAC, and I hear from other partners, are doing a lot around financial aid awareness and financial aid filing already. But the requirement of having it as a day or a series of days, however the district or school decides to put it into practice, but to really ensure that every student has an opportunity to receive that information is really what's key and critical to the Financial Aid Advising Day concept.
Okay, and I know that was a bill that was enacted by the legislature this past session, and all schools are required to do this. All high schools are required to do this. And as I put my high school principal hat on, and I'm working with my counseling staff, can you share maybe a few ideas of maybe how a school could go about doing the Financial Aid Advising Day?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And so there are a couple things that come to my mind. Especially in this remote, for a lot of us around the state, this remote environment, a lot of schools right now, and that these financial aid advising days do need to happen in the fall before December 1st. And so virtual opportunities, we have on our website, which Scott, I'm going to try and share my screen now and see how this works here.
And as you're sharing the screen there, you said the Financial Aid Advising Day by December 1st, correct?
Correct, December 1st. Yeah, and so here is the WASAC 12th Year Campaign website. And on here we have what is a Financial Aid Advising Day, some of the things that need to be shared through a Financial Aid Advising Day, how the 12th Year Campaign can help. One recommendation that we have is that schools and districts, before creating materials or trying to figure out what to share and how to get it, is to take a look at this website, because we have support modules. Every module on here will have a resource, an activity, and a video that can be shared in an advisory period, could be shared in, senior English class, or a class that every senior takes. Could be done. So that's one recommendation that we have, is finding an opportunity in a way that you can connect with all seniors, either in subgroups or at once, perhaps, depending on your specific school. And then utilizing some of these videos and resources that can be used as either assignments or ways to creatively engage with students around financial aid. We also have additional materials that can be ordered in hard copy if you are giving out packets and want to distribute them to students and families physically. We have college knowledge workbooks. We have a 12th year campaign workbook, posters, postcards, all of that good stuff is available. And then we also have training recordings and workshops that you can attend if you're trying to learn more about financial aid as a school or staff person. And then we also are hosting filing events. Now, this would only be the specific filing assistance, not necessarily the information about Washington College Grant, kind of the presentation or video section, but we are hosting several statewide and virtual events this fall as well. And so definitely thinking about how to incorporate in what you're already doing. Is there a class that seniors are taking? Is there an opportunity to connect with seniors? And then I would definitely recommend starting with these support modules.
Well, I think just in terms of looking at this 12th year campaign website, what an enormous resource, Sarah. Not just the Financial Aid Advising Day, but more importantly, some of the pieces down below, because everybody's always looking for, at least my remembering is looking for modules to share, and to have, as you scroll down a little bit further, to have the opportunity to see those modules and put those things in play, but have the resource, activity, and video. How cool is all of that? Just a great opportunity to again, have information at your fingertips to help support students as they navigate that transition. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the 12th year campaign page?
The biggest thing I would say is that we're here to help. We really want to make it easy to implement with what you're already doing. Again, you can see right here, you can order free materials We also have a place where you can get to know your financial aid completion data. So if you're not sure where your district or school is in terms of, how many students are completing a FAFSA right now, or financial aid application applying for those programs, get to know your data. We can help you with that. We definitely, want to make it as coordinated as possible and not have you reinvent the wheel in terms of materials and content. That's why we put this page together and linked it up with all the resources that we have.
Fantastic. And as you you can go ahead and click the stop sharing there, and they'd find that wasac.org.
wasac.wa.gov.
wasac.wa.gov. Okay. Well, we will certainly be sure to put that on the screen there. And what a great opportunity and to share some information with some folks today, Sarah. Very knowledgeable and stuff. And you were an absolute professional through the kind of 2 or 3 phone calls in this remote environment that came through when everything's all hooked together. As it was beeping on the screen, you just kept going and sharing some information. And I know that principals and counselors in the field that watch this are going to find it very informative and extremely, extremely helpful. Should anybody want to contact you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, would love to hear from anyone who has questions or wants to connect on any of this. My email address is sarahwe@wsac.wa.gov.
Fantastic, fantastic. sarahwe@wsac.wa.gov. How'd I do?
That's it.
Yes, I did it.
Gold star.
Yeah, well, you've been great partners for schools across our entire state, and I know we appreciate the partnership that we've been able to have with AWSP and you. So,
Likewise.
Thanks again for your time this afternoon, and wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.